All right, go ahead.
There.
We're going. We're live.
Yay. Yay. Here, we'll go. Good morning.
Yeah, we're back, and it's another Friday.
We'll wait till somebody jumps in.
Aw. Well, it should be. It should be out there.
Okay, I'm going to pull my chat up. Last week, I didn't pull it up in time, so I couldn't really see the comments.
Mm-hmm.
So let me pull it up real quick so I can see comments too.
Yeah, it's showing nobody's sitting there.
Nobody sitting there?
No, it's showing 0. And it's been live for, well, maybe it's got the countdown going first.
Oh, that could be.
Yeah, because I don't know if he has that set. So it's at 56. Let's see here.
There's 4 waiting.
Okay. Well, it says live. I don't know.
Okay, it's on.
All right.
I don't see us in the chat yet, the picture.
I don't either.
Yes, Stacy says we're live.
Okay, then go.
There you go. Good morning. I have my chat ready so I can check you guys out in the chat.
Yeah, I'm looking on this, but I didn't see that it didn't come up on here yet. But
no, our camera's not up on my phone, but the chat is.
Yeah, well, we're good to go. So
I don't need to look at me anyway.
Yeah, well, you do your thing.
Okay. First, we're going to read out of the Bible today. Then God said, "Let the earth bring forth vegetation, every kind of plant that bears seed, and every kind of tree that sorry, my dog. Every kind of fruit tree that the earth bears fruit with its seed in it." And so it happened. Then the earth brought forth every kind of plant that bears seed and every kind of fruit that bears fruit with its seed in it. And God saw how good it was. The reason I picked that one today, before I kick my dog out, is I make my own medicine. I've been doing it for 40 plus years. And my daughter, she watches a lot of the YouTube videos and things like that. Well, I've got mine in notes and old books, so I don't really have to go into YouTube. Once you have established medicinal, apothecary things that you use, you don't need to keep looking up other things. So she showed me this clip the other day about a guy on YouTube that does this, and then he passes on what he learns. Well, now the government is YouTube is taking down any of his videos and calling it medical misinformation. So I'm going to let you go ahead and play those clips, Trixie.
Okay.
I don't hear any sound, Trix. Property over here. This is another farmer. But anyway, here I am out behind my barn. And we've had rain pretty much all day. So it's wet out here. The mosquitoes are awful. Anyway, I'm harvesting goldenrod. I also have probably triple what I had last year of elderberry, which, let's see if I can get this over here. Right there, there's a whole bunch growing. And there's another one over here. Still green. So I've got a little ways to go before I harvest any of that. But yeah, this.
You heard that right. The powers that be took down one of my videos and said, guess what? It was medical misinformation. You know what? I appealed it, and they still said no. They of healing herbs and healing plants out there that has been around for thousands of years and used for thousands of years to great effect. Is that now in jeopardy? I can't even mention that on the channel.
Okay, so now you can make your own medicines, you can do your own thing, but if you try to share it on YouTube, now this video that this guy is talking about was charcoal. And he was making a charcoal salve that draws out toxins. Well, they use it in the hospital. I mean, hospital use charcoal all the time for that reason. And this was a year ago, and took it off now. So they're coming out because if you notice, we have a lot of, I don't want to say any names, but where they're making natural medicines and they're actually taking off within the last, I'd say 3 years for sure. But like I said, I've been doing mine for like 40 years. So I'm going to continue to do that. I mean, I haven't been to a doctor in well over 30 years, and I take no prescription medicines. And now I'm going on 66. So I'm going to stick with what I'm doing. But now, if you try to share it publicly, they can take it down. And that's just YouTube now. So how far are they actually going to go?
Well, Dub, do you know why they're doing that? I mean, is it the drug companies or is it they
pharmaceutical
pass or what?
You can bet pharmaceutical has their hands in this, absolutely, because people are going to alternative medicines.
Yeah,
and they actually work. I mean, I made some. This is just a little one, but this is calendula dandelion salve. It's great for my arthritis, and it's really good on your skin. It makes it nice and soft, but it actually gets in and takes away those aches and pains. So I make stuff like that all the time, but I make what's good for me. You know, what's good for me might not be good for someone else.
But what about turmeric? Do you use that?
I use that a lot. Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
I was wondering if could you say a little bit about that? Because that one, I like that. That's kind of interesting.
Turmeric is an anti-inflammatory. Mm-hmm. So when your arthritis is acting up, that's where everything starts aching. Mine usually gets to me after I've been like working my hands a lot, and they'll get really swollen. My knuckles will get really big, and I'll use turmeric. I can use it as a poultice, which is really fast acting. But if you were to take, say, you can make your own capsules if you want, or you can make your own pills or put it in tea, then that's long term. You just continually, it takes a while to build up. But that instant relief of, like, say, a turmeric balm or even a poultice, that takes it out pretty quick. So I'll use that in the evening after my hands are just tired, you know, and they ache, and I'll use turmeric. But if you take it on a consistent basis, then you tend not to have any of those aches and pains. You know, you don't have to wait to, you know, do an instant relief because it's already in your system.
Well, yeah. So you're basically, a lot of the stuff you use is anti-inflammatory then?
I use a lot of anti-inflammatory, but I use anything that's good for your gut health. any
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
fermentation. That's really good for that. But
Yeah.
you'd be surprised what our natural food supply, vegetables. I make a broccoli powder. I do a lot of my vegetables. I powder them. They don't take as much room as canning, and you can add them to soup. When the kids come over, I'll use powdered broccoli, and I'll put it in banana nut muffins. They don't know they're getting that healthy serving of broccoli, and they can't taste it. So I use that a lot in other kinds of cooking. But
Well, yeah, sneak it in.
yeah, and there's going to be a time where we can't get from some of these companies whatever they do, pharmaceutical, government, whatever. If these companies are making money, that's where they're getting upset. I think that's why all of a sudden this is coming out again now. Is because they do work. One of the best pain relievers you can get that is it's not a narcotic, and that's wild lettuce. And you cook that down and you get like a tar consistency, and it gets real dark. That is one of the best painkillers you can get.
Is
And
that mullein or
mullein?
Yeah.
Oh, I use mullein all the time. Mullein is good to clear your lungs. Most people that I know that use mullein, they actually roll it up like a cigarette and smoke it. But you can use it in a tincture. That's another form that it's pretty strong as a tincture. And that's where you take your dried leaves, you crumble them up, and it has to be at least 80 proof alcohol. But I use clear alcohol, say Everclear or grain alcohol or something. You're not going to be drinking it. You're only using a couple drops. But tinctures work really good for long term.
I'm sorry, I was reading what I think it was Nut says she sneaks it in her husband's stuff all the time and hopes it isn't arsenic.
There are a few things. That's why when you are harvesting, like out here where I'm at, nothing gets sprayed. I'm out in the middle of nowhere. So I don't worry about, even if I was to go across the road and pick something, it doesn't get sprayed out here. But you want to make sure if you're going to be harvesting any of these herbs or plants that you get something that isn't contaminated with pesticide or insecticide.
Yeah. Can you wash that off though when you bring it in? If it would have had some of that, would it come off?
I wouldn't even try it, because if they're spraying it, it's going to get into the soil, and that soil is going to come up through the plant. I mean, that's where it gets its nutrients. So the roots are sucking it all up into the plant. What's on the outside could wash off, but I wouldn't even chance it. I wouldn't even consider it.
Well, I just asked because some people have their lawns, not them, but like your neighbors would have True Green or something like that come over and spray the heck out of everything, and it's got to spread.
Well, and I wouldn't need anything that's anywhere near that.
I know my neighbor behind me does that, and I get really upset, and there's nothing I can do about it. But they come once a week and spray, and so I have to keep the dog in the house for a little bit.
Yeah. Well, I was married to a crop duster, so I know a lot about sprays and what gets sprayed on them. Luckily, the farmer behind my property, he doesn't spray his crops. And sweet corn, you don't spray anyway. So when he grows sweet corn, I don't have to worry about it, but I get free corn.
Does he alternate with beans? Do they do like sweet corn beans?
His actually last year, he tried corn, sweet corn, but it was such a dry summer that it failed. This year he planted feed corn or seed corn. And then next year he'll do pumpkin. So the first year I lived here, he did pumpkin and squash. So I had an abundance of that everywhere.
I just wonder, because I know with the leaching of the ground and everything, that over here, the way it is, they alternate corn one year and then soybeans the next, and they just do that back and forth.
Well, that's how we did in Iowa as well. But up here where I'm at, he can alternate as long as you're alternating different crops. Yeah. Farmers are going to go with a money crop, so it's either corn or beans. So when they alternate it, but there, places in Iowa that we sprayed for potatoes, and I believe the company that the farmer sold his potatoes to was Lay's.
Ooh.
They put on so many chemicals on potatoes.
Oh, don't
And
tell me that. I eat Lay's potato chips all the time.
well, you got to when you get potatoes, wash them, because the stuff that gets sprayed on potatoes is really strong. It's strong. And the reason they do that is because if you get potato blight in a field, you'll never grow another potato there ever. So they keep the potatoes sprayed real well. And they may alternate theirs with, something else too. One year they may do potatoes, the next they'll do sweet corn or green beans or something like that.
Oh, somebody's in. Aunt Jana says the Lay's have GMO. I know they do, but I'm living on the edge because I love potato chips, so I only eat them once in a while. I gotta have my chips. I'm sorry.
I'm not a big snack eater. The kids, my grandkids love snacks. So when they come over here, they're not real thrilled with some of the stuff that, like, what's for dinner tonight? You don't actually want to tell them everything that's in it, because it's like, I'm not eating a dandelion, or, here's some salad, but it's got all these greens in it. It doesn't look any different than if you were to buy one of those bags that they have in the grocery store.
Oh yeah, like the spring mix or something.
Yeah. If you pick a variety of greens, they don't know what they're eating.
Okay, Proud's telling me that I can eat what I want. So I'm glad I have your permission, Proud. Thank you.
And she won't gain an ounce, Proud.
I know I can eat like a horse and I don't put on weight. I'm drinking protein shakes now, even too.
You make those yourself, right?
Oh yeah, I sure do. I'm really handy that way. Was there anything else like you want to cover on that? Because this is really
I just, one of the things I tell my daughter, actually I tell everybody this: read, get books. If there's a time when you can't find something on YouTube, where are you going to go to get your information? You can barely find a library anymore. And what's in there, God knows, I haven't been in years, but I have notes from back in the early 80s when I first started doing this. So I'll go back and I'll refer to my own notes. And I mean, I've got a box full of them, not just for medicinal purposes, but foraging for food, the things that we can actually eat that's sitting out in our backyard. One of my favorite things are those milk, the milkweed where you have the little pod.
Oh yeah, I got some in the yard.
Yeah, well, those, if you get them when they're green and boil them, and you split them open, you can stuff it with like cream cheese, hot peppers or something, and it's like a jalapeno popper. You deep fry it and it tastes like a jalapeno popper. So there's a lot of wild food when, if I don't want to say the word, but if it hits the fan, then you have at least know where you're going to get some of your nutrients.
Yeah, you got to learn how to forage.
Yeah, if you can't get it at the grocery store, you're going to need vitamins, and I don't buy much from the grocery store just because I don't trust what's in the grocery store anymore.
Yeah.
A hamburger doesn't taste like a hamburger to me anymore.
I haven't had a hamburger in so long. Didn't Bill Gates put money into it's some kind of a waxy substance that they're putting on vegetables and fruits now?
Yeah, what is the name of that? I want to say peel or something like that.
Yeah, it's something, but I heard it was like really, really bad.
Well, it's a coating that they put on to keep the vegetables or fruit or whatever longer. But the thing is the tomatoes we get in the store are actually green tomatoes that they gassed them and they turn red. So
yeah, gross.
There's nothing like a fresh tomato out of the garden. That's about all that survived my garden this year was tomatoes.
Especially if it's still warm from the sun with a little bit of salt.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's so good.
Tomato mayo sandwich.
You ever had an onion sandwich?
Oh yeah, lots of times.
I know my mom used to think I was crazy, but I would slice the sweet onion with mustard and put it on rye. Oh my gosh.
Oh, mine is mayonnaise. I like mayonnaise on mine.
Oh, I haven't had one in a while though. The sweet onions here are so small. It's not the same as remember when the sweet onions used to be like about this big?
Yeah.
Now they're about like that, and it's got
Yeah.
to be something to do with the way they're raising them. Because I used to like it; they would seem sweeter too before.
Well, it's just like chicken, fresh. If you ever had fresh chicken
Yeah.
compared to store-bought chicken, there's no comparison at all.
No,
There's
I just couldn't.
100% difference in flavor.
My mom, her parents owned a grocery store, and they had a butcher in there, and that's what they did. She ate fresh chicken all the time, but she told me the stories about how she had to kill the chickens and pluck them and all that kind of stuff, and it just kind of grossed me out. I don't think I could do it. I just don't.
If you were hungry, you'd be surprised what you can do.
Well, yeah, if I was hungry, that's a big difference. I mean, your motivation is totally different then, not, but just the same thing.
And we are totally dependent on a grocery store. And if something happens where we can't go to the grocery store and get it, by God, I want to know how I'm going to eat and how I'm going to preserve food, and it's just a way of life for me. It's not like I'm prepping for the end of the world. I've been doing this for 40 years. So
believe her too. She's basically almost off grid, and she's not kidding.
Yeah.
I mean, I know you are. I mean,
my goal was to be totally off grid by the time I was turning 66. Well, because of the internet, I really can't go 100%. But like my wood, I have a wood cook stove. I have wood heat. I have my garden, and I forage for a lot of stuff. So a lot of times it's dark in here. I'm trying to get into an area where sadly it reflects off my glasses, so I can't really see anything.
Stacy's going to get us in trouble in the chat. She's talking about what chickens she eats at her house, and I'm not going to repeat it, but it was funny.
Oh, I know what chickens eat. I don't want. Yeah.
No, which one she eats, because she was eating the roosters that were having their way with the hens.
Oh yeah. My grandkids have chickens, and they have one rooster. And the rooster was actually a mistake. When they got the chicks, they thought they had all chickens. Well, Mr. Rooster popped up. So the kids all took one egg each, took it in the basement, and it's under a heat lamp. So they're going to try to hatch their own chickens. So we'll see how that goes.
My sister she has donkeys, but she raises peacocks. Oh my gosh, they're so cute when they're little. But I was at her house last time I stayed up there, and it was like about 1 o'clock in the morning. You heard this really wild screaming, and it sounded like a woman, So I went downstairs and I went and woke her up, and I'm like, what the heck's going on? And it was her stupid peacocks, but they sound like a woman screaming in the middle of the night. But there must have been a fox trying to get into her holding pen or something.
Yeah. My daughter had guineas.
And, yeah. What do? They do that. Do.
And they sit in a tree until somebody comes up, and then they all scatter. I mean, they're really good watch chickens or watch fowl. But yeah, they'd warn them when anybody was coming up the drive.
I like the silkies. I think those are pretty.
Well, when I have turkeys, I'll have one, and I'll name one Thanksgiving, and I'll name one Christmas. So.
Oh, geez. And then eat them.
Yeah. I have wild turkey out here, so I don't really need to raise. I'm on the hunting grounds.
Do you really eat wild turkey? Seriously?
Yeah, the breast is the best. Otherwise, like legs and all that, that's kind of tough. But you can make it soup and things like that.
I got grossed out popping the after you pluck the feathers on the wild ones, because they have all those black heads and you have to pop those.
Oh, we used to have to do that with store-bought turkey back when I was young. And nowadays, you don't even. I remember my mom would go get one, and all 9 of us, well, my dad wouldn't, but all of us would sit around the table and we'd pluck what the store didn't get out. You don't do that anymore. Once in a great while, you might see one. But yeah, we used to have to pluck. We used to have to pop them out.
That really grossed me out, though. It was like I would have rather just like skin the whole thing, but then you're defeating the purpose. You're gonna have dry meat, but it tasted pretty gamey to me when I tried it.
Any wild game is going to be gamey.
Well, yeah, that's why I don't eat venison, because even if you put beef tallow or beef fat in with the venison, when you grind it for a burger, I can still taste the game in it. And somebody tried to fool me one time and told me it was ground beef, and it was like one bite, and I'm like, you liar. You can tell.
It's not bad in chili. I don't mind I don't like that gamey flavor either. Sometimes if you soak it in milk overnight, that draws out some of the gamey taste. Like, and you can do that for dove and pheasant and all of that too. It kind of draws out the blood and the gamey flavor. But I don't mind it in chili or tacos or something like that.
That's a lot of seasoning, though.
Yeah, I have to season it.
Yeah.
Don't give me a deer steak, and I'm not going to eat it.
My daughter goes after the back straps.
That's the best.
Yeah. I know I don't get it, but I wasn't raised. I grew up down in Detroit, and then when I had my kids in Traverse City, so they grew up more rural. So they'll eat all that squirrel and everything like that. I just won't. It was the way I was brought up. I just can't get over that mental.
Yeah.
But
Well,
if
a
I
lot of
was
people
starving-
can't eat fresh eggs for the same reason.
my sister gave me duck eggs for breakfast, and I
Oh, yeah.
what a snot. But we're like that with each other. So that's probably why she did it. But you think you're getting chicken eggs and they're duck eggs or something.
They're a lot bigger.
Well, yeah, but if you're not cooking, you don't know. And
No.
we prank each other all the time and stuff. So I mean, we're older and we're still doing it. We're still 12 years old. So
I don't think any of my sisters are going to come out here. They're not the rough it type.
oh yeah, my sister, she's not a rough it type. She's a nurse in critical care. But so is there anything else you want to say on
That's
this?
it. I know you got something you were going to jump into.
Yeah, I was gonna have the slideshow, but then your clip there would knock mine right out because I was just gonna pause and read off of that. But so I'm gonna go ahead and just kind of do it vocal. But what I was
and I'll check out the chat for a while.
all right. So we were talking about monkeypox last Friday, and everybody was kind of interested in it. And seeing how it's in the news now this week and everything, I thought I'd give you a little bit of a primer on monkeypox and why you really should not be afraid. But monkeypox was discovered in 1958, and it happened in Denmark, and it was in a research lab. So right there, that's kind of interesting that it just popped out of nowhere in a research lab in 1958. And think about when maybe our government was starting to monkey around with maybe things that would, how do I want to put this? Things that could make your enemy sick. I'll put it that way. So it could be used for health or it could be used for either thing. But being that it was in a lab like that would make me question it. So from 1958 to 1970, there wasn't much going on at all. There might have been monkeypox here or there or something, but it really wasn't a thing. Well, then in 1970, in a whole different place, which is even more funny, in the Democratic Republic of Congo, a 9-year-old contracted it. And what they discovered after that was that there were 2 clades. Now, a clade would be just like your family tree. So figure this is your branch for your family tree. So if you cut it off right here, then from here and everything that branched out up this way would be your clade, and it would count for everybody that's currently living or dead or extinct. So they came up with 2 clades. That right there should give you a little bit of a suspect of how it could jump from Denmark in 1958 all the way down to Central Africa in 1970. There's a lot of room for play over there. So there's the 2 different kinds. So there's clade 1 and clade 2. Clade 1 is extremely dangerous. It's more from the point of origin, and you probably would never see that here. I can't ever imagine it coming here unless it was purposefully brought here. Now, the second kind is what popped up in 2022, around that they're calling, it's a clade 2 one. It's less virulent. How I want to say that. So you're not really going to get sick. You're going to get just like a flu. You're going to get swollen lymph nodes. You're going to get a little bit of a fever. But the kicker part is that rash. You're going to get the rash. And what happens is then it blisters up, and then it opens up and weeps, and you get fluid coming out of that. Then it scabs. After it scabs, until you grow skin over that part to keep it from weeping, you're basically contagious. That's the big thing with it. But if you, like, let's say you lived in a home and you had monkeypox, if you stayed in your room and you weren't touching everybody, chances of anybody in your house getting it would be pretty slim. But like if you're sleeping in bed and your sores weeped into the linen, somebody came to do your sheets, make them wear gloves or something like that, because anytime you would get any of that fluid and touched your eyes, your nose, your mouth, or an open wound on your skin or anything, or you have intimate relations, that's how it's going to spread. So really, you're pretty safe. But the worst part about it is if you already have an underlying condition, like if you're immunocompromised or you're a year old or younger because your immune system isn't fully developed, or if you have eczema, or if you're pregnant. So if you have eczema, what's going to happen is you're going to get a real big viral load off of that monkeypox, and then it's going to exacerbate the eczema, and you're going to get one heck of a rash. It's going to get bad. But if your eczema is in real good control and you're on medication, the chances of you having that happen would be pretty slim, to get anything real bad. There is a couple bad side effects that if you were immunocompromised that could affect you. And one is encephalitis, and that is where your brain swells up. And once it swells up like that, we're right back to inflammation again. If you figure it out, inflammation is the cause of a lot of disease. It all starts with that. But so if your brain swells up, you're going to have problems. The other serious thing that can happen adverse would be myocarditis. And you guys are familiar with that from COVID, the myocarditis. And it can really harm your heart. What it'll do is it'll create problems for you in the long run. It's really going to curtail the activity that you're able to do and everything. But what's really funny too is how they discover monkeypox to find out if you have it is they do a PCR test, just like they did with COVID. So what they're testing is your polymerase reaction detection, and they're able to detect the virus that way. And they can tell what strain it is, but they can't. It's not like perfect or absolute or anything. If you remember when they were doing the PCR tests for COVID, some of them didn't even work. Remember when they first came out, they were saying some of them were contaminated and all that. And the PCR,
I never got tested.
Oh, I never did either. No way. I'm not gonna. I was afraid that they had some of that at the end of the swab, because I can't understand why in the world that swab had to go so far up into your nasal canal. You see what I'm saying? I've never seen it in all the years I've done stuff. I've never seen them take a swab and jam it that far up your nose ever.
Yeah.
Ever.
I think it was all the fear factor of it.
Yeah. And
we had to look at that dang counter every single day on the news, counting down the COVID cases. Let's start seeing how many American citizens are being raped and murdered by illegals. Let's put a counter up and see that.
That would be wonderful to have that, because
they don't want us to see that, though.
No, I know. I watched some news yesterday, and it's the same thing. Everybody getting killed over and over and over. But the interesting thing about this monkeypox is, remember with COVID, they had the emergency use authorization for an experimental vax. Well, they're doing the same thing with the monkeypox. I can't pronounce the guy's name from the WHO, but he's pushing right now to get emergency use for that. And
so what was, Trixie? So back when it first came out, what was it, a year or so ago? I know it's been in this administration. Yeah. And they had this monkeypox vaccine, and you'd see these lines of all these men going in to get the vax. Well, what vax was that?
The only thing I've been able to find out was that they use smallpox therapeutics. I have gone and scoured the internet, and they've got it clamped down. I can't find anything out. I don't think we will. Probably if it's emergency use and it's experimental, it's so compartmentalized that some of the people working on it don't even know what they're working on.
Oh, I have no doubt.
Yeah. So until somebody can get a freedom of information thing, or they get forced to release it, I don't think we'll ever know. And I'm getting into that part. It gets really interesting about that vaccine thing. But it appeared in 2022, like really super suddenly. And the one that came out really only affects gay and bisexual men or guys that have sex with each other is really it.
Guys,
And so,
that's it.
yeah, well, one of the really bad things that can happen with monkeypox, and I wasn't going to say it, but because we're talking about it, I will. But because it's gay and bisexual men, is proctitis, and that's where their rectum just basically gets wrecked. I don't know how else to put it. That is,
we know how. We just don't need to hear it.
No, but that proctitis is a real. It was the third most adverse reaction, and I was going to skip it, but since I probably should say that because it's a fact. It's not like I'm making that up. I mean, it's clinical. So the clade 2, the one that came out in 2022, is clade 2B, and it's basically only sexually transmitted. They haven't come across that I know of anybody that's got it any other way. So the WHO put out $15 million for surveillance on this stuff. And then they just released another 1.45 million. And that's for immediate work, like at origination. So they're going to go, they'll find out where it came from and everything. But the really funny part is, what would you think? Now, if you go to Pfizer's documents, that Naomi Wolf had that book about it. I read the whole thing, but I read the whole 700 pages from Pfizer. And when you go through the adverse reactions through Pfizer for the COVID jab, you'll get onto page 2 and it'll be listed. Blistering is a side effect of COVID-19, an adverse reaction. If you have underlying autoimmune disease, that can happen. So all the patents for this stuff are owned. Some of the Rothschilds own some of them, and I'm going to leave it at that.
Yeah, well, they're knee deep in all this pharmaceutical too, which is one of the reasons why they want to suppress people that want to do their own natural remedies, because they work. They've been working for thousands of years. Naturally, if you go to a hospital or something, they give you a narcotic, for pain or something like that. Then you're worried about all the side effects. Whereas this, you can control it yourself, and it is medicine. So it's not like I recommend it for pregnant women at all, or breastfeeding women. There's certain herbs and things you don't want to take, but that's like with any medication. And there's certain herbs you can take that are wonderful, like, mint. Have mint in your tea to keep the nausea away and, soothe the stomach. Same with lemon balm. But that's a lot. It's a lot easier to go in your backyard and get this stuff than it is to go to the store and pay a pharmaceutical company way too much money for what they're giving you.
Yeah. The masking is that's what I was going after, the masking. Okay. So that is a adverse reaction to have all those blisters like that. There's a lot of liability that's involved with these vaccines and everything. And there's a vaccine injury court. And I think there was 1 or 2 cases that have been won regarding the COVID, but it takes a long time to slug through that court. Well, when the drug companies are going to introduce a new drug, what they do a cost benefit ratio analysis. And that's some of the stuff that I was doing. So what they do is you'll take one whole list will be all the things that can happen, all the adverse reactions. And then you use a formula and you figure out what your liability payouts are going to be on all these adverse reactions based on percentages. Then on the other side, they do a profit. They do their profit margins and they figure out, okay, if they're going to make a lot of money on it and, to cover out the payouts and everything, they're going to do it. It's not going to matter. Well, safety matters, but they do more on the profit end of it. So when it's kind of a sick thing that they do it that way, but they wouldn't be in business anymore if they did it any other way. It's a risk. You have to do that. Well, what would be the chances, do you think, if that was an adverse reaction to that shot and a drug company was trying to reduce their liability on payouts? Wouldn't you try to blame somebody else for you see what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
what if it's not monkeypox, but they're saying it's monkeypox and they're making up this virus thing so that they can cover the liability on an adverse reaction that they know is coming out? It would not surprise me, and I'm not saying it's true, and I'm not saying it's not,
Right.
but just, you think about it.
That's why I don't do doctors. I do
Yeah.
not do doctors.
I have to once in a while, but it has to be like if I can't eat anymore or my arm's falling off or I'm bleeding to death. then I will go, or if I, my legs
Well,
broke.
if you break a hip or something, then you can go to an orthopedic surgeon, but it's not the
Break a
same.
hip, shoot me. I'm like a horse. I don't want to heal through that. That's rough. The hip is bad. That's bad. Well, I had somebody wrote me, DL Florida, I think it was, about the AstraZeneca jab having chimp virus in it. It's not really that bad that they have that. It's the same, it's the carrier. So it's basically the shell that's carrying the spike protein to be able to get into your system. So if you imagined like a great big spiked ball, remember when they would show the COVID spikes? That's what that chimp virus looks like. And those are basically cold viruses. It's not really anything super nefarious, but because it is from a chimp, he's questioning whether that would, give you monkeypox. I don't think so. I really don't. But I can't say for sure because I'm not in the lab and I don't have the paperwork. But being that it's been used, that virus, for a long time as a carrier, I wouldn't actually place the blame on that. But the whole point of all of this is you got it, like what Deb said. You have to do your own research. Don't take what she says or what I say at face value. You have the internet. That's your best friend. You don't have to use Google. Use DuckDuckGo. But look it up. And there's a really good site I want to tell you guys about. It's by the National Institute of Health, and it's called Pub Health. You can go to that site and you can type in anything in your parameters that you want to look up, and you'll come across all the scientific abstracts of research. Now, it's going to be filtered results, but you'll still get some really good information. And if you read some of the stuff, it'll point you in another direction or to another source. But you'll get 2 abstracts. One will be public and one will be scientific. If you want an easy read, go for the public. It's broken down in 2 or 3 pages, and it'll give you the main information you want with a summary on the bottom and then citations if you'd like to go farther. But if you're up for a challenge, read the scientific. You'll end up with all the supporting documentation, all the citations, and a lot of that goes down into the cellular level, and you'll learn a lot. Even if you're taking, a prescribed medicine and you're having a side effect, you could type that medicine with a plus sign and your side effect into that search parameter, and it'll bring up every research study that was done that has those things in it. And it's a real handy thing, but I can't even say enough for people to do your own research on that. And because everything that's being pushed or told, if you use discernment, everything raises red flags. Anytime you hear anything like that, always start at the very beginning and think, does it make sense to you? And if something doesn't make any sense, then I'm not saying don't comply and don't do what they tell you, but I'm saying, look how many people use discernment and did their own stuff for COVID. And there's a lot of us that never got vaxxed or believed any of that kind of stuff. And we ended up being right. And that's the shame of it all. And we could have prevented that if everybody did their due diligence. You have to be your own best patient advocate. That I can't even stress that enough.
Well, that's why I get so angry at the doctors.
Yeah.
Like my mom has emphysema, and the doctor just pushed this jab on her. And then it was like a booster, and then you need another booster. And her health got so bad. I mean, she did not take the 4th one, but she had 3 in her, and we almost lost her last year. It was awful.
She was really bad. I remember.
She was on her deathbed. It was horrible. And the same thing with my son-in-law, because he has cancer. The doctors were pushing, you can't get sick or anything like this. So they recommend the jab. Well, that meant everybody in the household. So they, my whole daughter's whole family had it. And I don't blame the people. You can call them, I've heard people call them ignorant or stupid or whatever. My folks have been listening to the doctor for 87 years. And to all of a sudden have a doctor that you don't trust anymore, well, they trusted their doctors.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what you're supposed to do.
Well, they all violated their oath during COVID because the first thing, the Hippocratic Oath, is that do no harm. And they never even questioned anything. A lot of them, but they don't even take pharmacology like they used to. I mean, even when I was in nursing school, I mean, I had to know what like if I was giving somebody a med, I had to know the components of that med and know what it did down to the cellular level. This was before, computers, and this was before unit dosing. So I was doing the algebra to figure out the dosages based on the weight and the height and all that kind of stuff. And Proud had a question about medicine, and the thing she was asking about them being made in China. Yes. There's a lot of it made in China, a lot of it made in India. But the thing is the compound medicines. They make those, most of them here. So you get your parts from over there and then they bring them here. Like there was one in Massachusetts that was making the epidural injections for your spine. And I've had those before, the epidurals, and I didn't after I heard this one. But they were compounding the steroids and the, can't remember the other name of the stuff. Anyways, and it got contaminated. And people were getting the epidurals in their spine and then coming down with meningitis and everything because it was contaminated. And I remember that drug company, but this was like 10 years ago. But usually compounding is done here and it's done very, very safely. But they are getting the ingredients from China and other places. So if like India, I wouldn't worry about India, but I would worry about China because they do replace ingredients in some of their drugs. Wasn't it 2 years ago? It was the high blood pressure medicine, tardikinese or something like that, that had a cancer causing drug in it. And the same thing with your antacid medicine too.
Oh, I remember the antacid. Yeah, I can't remember the name of it though.
Yeah, I know. I was on it too. The Prilosec. That's it. Yeah. So, and that's because that would go in your stomach and it just reduced your acid and everything. But you wonder what the heck they were putting in there. But to wrap up what I wanted to say,
I have something to fix that. So I'm not getting it. I don't take any prescription medicine at all. Period.
I don't anymore. I don't take any of my autoimmune meds or anything anymore. You know how I fixed it? Fasting. I changed my whole gut flora. What I do is I go once a month. I'll go 4 or 5 days with no eating and just drinking clear fluids. And it changed my bacterial flora in my gut so much from doing it for so many years. Now, I think I've been doing it 5 years. It's been 5 years since I've been on Remicade or anything like that. And I haven't had a flare. I stay skinny. That's the bad part. I can't put any weight on really. But other than that, I'm not getting any more deterioration in my joints or anything like that. So I know mine was probably exacerbated by diet and outside things and everything, but fasting really helped me.
That's a huge thing with everybody.
Yeah, you really should, because it changed. It's even like your taste buds. If you don't eat for 10 days, your taste buds totally change over. So when you do start eating, some things won't even taste good to you anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. When I was in the hospital,
I've been eating the same thing for so long, and then you can play around with recipes, to make something different. But if I couldn't get anything from the grocery store, just what I have just here, I'd be able to survive. Just because I know what I can eat and what I can't.
Yeah, I've got rice stored up. I got lots of rice, but I don't know how long. Well, we've got about 10 more minutes. So how would we like to? Would you want to open it up, see if anybody's got any questions, or do you want? Should we read from the chat?
Let's go for it.
You guys got any questions you want to ask? Because we're reading the chat. We can see it here. Oh, George says he likes Chinese food because that's where the drugs come from, China. No, I guess nobody really has any questions. Nobody has sent one yet here. Has anybody tried the chocolate peanut butter from Jif? I can't even recommend it highly enough. My God, I'm on my 3rd jar. It's good stuff. But I don't know, when you look at the stuff that's going on right now, it's kind of convenient that this monkeypox is just starting out before, you're getting into election season and everything
Oh, I
too.
think we all knew it was coming. Most people were saying, oh, COVID's going to make a comeback. Then they're trying the bird flu, but the bird flu is the same thing. You're highly unlikely to contract bird flu.
Yeah,
You know,
that one. I think they're trying to scare people so that they don't congregate to vote. Is
well,
what I
look what they
really
did
think.
with all the chickens. Hundreds of thousands of chickens they killed because they said one bird is infected and it destroys the whole flock.
Yeah,
Well, that's
it's
not.
BS. Stacy knows she has her chickens.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a lot of people that have chickens. Well, let's see. Palin is saying Andrew McCarthy is saying Trump's going to go to jail.
Yeah, I heard that yesterday.
I know. I was hearing.
I heard one that he was going to go to jail. Then someone else said he's going to be charged and sentenced, but they won't actually. He'll be like house arrest until the appeal is over or something like that.
Yeah, and
all hell's going to break loose if they put Trump in prison.
Oh my gosh, yeah. And then talking about closing down Mar-a-Lago too, was it Palm Beach mayor, because the Secret Service had the room closed and the residents
closing it down to the public.
That's such BS. It was never a problem before, I mean, they're just not stopping. They're horrible.
Literally, Trump needs his own protection.
Okay,
from the Secret Service?
Oh, yes, Red. I can explain the contagious aspect of clade too. And yeah, it is through intimate relations that way, but you're still going to get it. Like I said, if somebody has an open weeping sore, all you have to have is one open sore blister. And if somebody, let's say, like if it was Deb had one on her hand and I touched her hand and got some of that on it and went like this on my nose, it's going to get in your
make me slap you.
But it'll get in your mucosa and if you'll breathe it in. If intimate relations, yeah, you're definitely going to get it that way. If the sore, like I said with the linens, if I was laying on the bed and I had a weeping sore and you had a pinprick on your finger and you grabbed my sheets and touched it, it could get into that sore. So yeah, as long as that's weeping, you're contagious. You're really not contagious until the crust is off and you have a little bit of skin over the top of that. But you're not going to
like
catch
with any other kind of pox.
It's like the cold virus.
Chicken pox is similar. It's the open sore.
So I hope that answered it. I can't really get any more specific like that. I mean, I could on the intimate part, but I'm not going to. This is a morning show. But just remember about the proctitis. That should give you a good idea right there. But that's why we're not going to see that here. I just can't. If people would do their research, you'd see what I just said. You would know that unless you're bringing a chimp home that likes to go clubbing every night, you're not going to have a problem with it. You really won't. I just don't see it. But the bird flu, I could see spreading more than the monkeypox.
Yeah.
And I don't even know, like we said before, I don't even know about that bird flu. I really don't.
Well, and I was just reading, someone said, I didn't catch the name, I'm sorry. They were talking about ivermectin. Well, when COVID first hit, then everybody started talking about all these viruses. And I started growing Sweet Annie, which is wormwood. And it's an herb that you grow. You can make it into tea or whatever, but it's also anti-parasitic. And ivermectin does the same thing. It's anti-parasitic. So that became one of my new tea leaves to put in is Sweet Annie. And you grow it just like you would lemon balm or any of your other herbs. And it's cheap and you have it right there all the time. And as far as I'm not a doctor, so I'm not going to say ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine and all that. Those helped, but the government kept them from the people.
Well, the hydroxychloroquine is not dangerous at all. I was on that for 4 years.
Oh, yeah.
And the only thing
I know friends that have cancer that they were prescribed hydroxychloroquine.
Yeah, it was great. The only bad side effect is your vision. But I had my vision tested like every 6 months, and I never had a problem with it at all. It just wasn't effective for me anymore. And like I'm saying, I mean, I have autoimmune, and the thing that was the most effective for me, even after biologics and everything, was to just fast. And I think a lot of positive attitude helps too, because it does affect your cells. The more negative you are, the more stress and cortisol you're releasing and everything. So the more positive you are, the more happy you are, the better outcomes you're going to have. And across any disease, it just works that way. And if you look at what disease means, dis-ease. So if you go ahead and have a good attitude, your outcomes are always going to be better. And it applies everywhere through life. And I always say that, though. I don't like to be negative.
I'm typing answer.
You're typing your answer. Okay.
I am working on it. Like I said, I've got notes from 40 years ago. So there are a lot of chicken scratches in there, and there's a lot of just sliding this piece of paper in under this one and for my recipes and things like that. So what I've shared a few on my Live Simple on Locals, but some of the stuff that I've been sharing are the easy things that you can keep on your shelf. And this one, I don't know if you can see this. This is a honey garlic ferment. I take this every single day. Every single day. I always have at least 2 on my shelf because it boosts your immune system. I can't remember the last time I've been sick. I mean, literally sick in the last 30 years. I can't remember being sick. So I take this every day. And you can use garlic. Some people add honey. And all you do is put your chopped garlic in, fill your jar with honey, and then every day you're going to rotate it. And it's going to ferment. This is good forever. This is never going to go bad. I can leave it on my shelf for 10 years and it'll still be good. But like I said, I take it every single day. And you can use lavender if you want to add some lavender to it. But this, other than just taking a spoonful, you can make really good salad dressing out of it. Just mix it with a little oil and maybe some lemon or something, and makes a really good glaze for ham. So you can have other ways so you don't like honey. It's just too much, but it gets really thin. Once it starts fermenting, the honey gets really liquefied. It's not thick at all. It's not hard to take. But man, is it good. You can open the jar and just, it smells wonderful. But I take this every day, and I never get sick.
I haven't been, since I started fasting and that kind of stuff, I very, very, very rarely get sick anymore. It's a good thing. It's a real good thing. But we're getting close to time here. We got about 2-3 minutes. So I don't know if you wanted to talk about the DNC tomorrow or next week. That's going to be interesting. That's going to be a real crap show.
Yeah, I've been hearing rumors. I wouldn't be anywhere near the city of Chicago. That's just me. I don't like cities. I don't like cities anyway, but there's absolutely no way I would be anywhere near there.
No, their Tigers and the White Sox are playing, and I wanted to go in to watch the game, but I'm not going because of that stuff going on. And the Tigers are sucking, and so I think the White Sox have got.
I don't watch baseball, so.
Yeah, they're like the longest losing streak in baseball or something right now. But we hope you guys got some good information off of us today.
Yeah, we do, Trixie. We do. I have a couple people that mentioned they'd love to jump in on the show as a guest.
Oh, good.
Family. So we got, of course, Sean Lucas mentioned he would like to, and also American Mark. He said he'd be looking forward to jumping in. So,
well, how about we have those 2 on next Friday then?
You got guys Mark, Mark? I don't know if Sean's in the chat. I haven't seen him. So,
well, I think he was driving.
Oh, okay.
But I don't know.
We'll get a hold of them and we'll get them on, and they can throw in their 2 cents. I want to tell you that this actually, I've been working on this and I've been saying it for well over a year now, that I'm going down the rabbit hole big time. And I don't think I'll do it next week since we're going to have a couple people on. But the week after that, I am going.
You know what? I would do it the last time we do this.
You're scared of the controversy?
A little bit. little bit, but you know,
We've been
That's-
lying to you so much that I think a little bit of truth spilling wouldn't hurt a thing.
no, it's not going to hurt a thing. It's just controversial, and I'm always trying to stay away from that kind of stuff. But that's just me. But I know what you're doing, and it needs to be said. So I can't
Yeah.
say.
Maybe I'll just make one and then share it on my Live Simple or on my other locals page or something.
You could. Why not do it on here? Do it for our friends. You know.
Everybody needs to hear it because I think a whole bunch of people got played.
Well,
my
you'll
folks,
get honest feedback here. You know, everybody will give you honest feedback, and that's what you're looking for, anyways. I think.
that's exactly. So I think we're adult enough in here that we can have an adult conversation where I can shine a little bit of light. You might not like what I'm saying, but they're facts. I have documents, court documents. I have all kinds of proof, and I'm going to bring it out because this person happens to be popping back in the news again after all this time, and it's like, okay, what's up? So the more I dug in, the more I found out, and that's why I think we need to bring it to light.
Yeah. Well, we got to wrap this up. We're over an hour already. I think we're holding everybody from doing all kinds of fun things on a Friday.
Yeah. Okay, guys. Well, we'll get with you next week.
Yeah, and be good. And if you can't be good, be careful. And we'll see you next Friday. Bye.
Bye.